Hello, my beautiful Hershey Kisses. You know, you have men out here who say that they want women from the past generations. You know, women back in the 40s and the 50s, they want women, they don't want women to be their mom, but they want women to act like their mom. Let's listen into this Neanderthal. He explains how men, they don't want their moms, they just want their women to be like their moms. Okay, here we go.
Do you women nowadays are always telling men that we don't want girlfriends. We want moms when we ask you to do basic women-like things for us. No, we want you to act like women in our mom's generation. You know, the women that raised us, the women that took care of their husbands, cooked for their husbands, loved their family, didn't want to go to work and abandon their kids, didn't want to party at the clubs all weekend and act like they hate men all the time. So no, we don't want moms. We want you to act like wives.
This man really just sat up here and said, we don't want moms. We just want women that act like our moms. Sir, you're not beating these allegations, okay? Some of these men want the 50s and 60s housewife so bad, but that's not what women want. We saw right through it. Our mothers and our grandmothers, they warned us. Those women weren't happy, and they don't care. They still feel entitled to your free labor. They want you to do it and not complain about it. And the only way for you to do that is for them to have some kind of financial control over you. Your independence scares them because they need you to need them. You can't just want them. They need you desperate. Desperate women make poor choices. Desperate women settle for men like them. Men who have nothing to offer are truly threatened by a woman's independence. They want to get back to the days where women needed permission from men to do everything. They want to get back to the days where all she did was be quiet and cook and clean. They don't want you to have a voice. Them wanting to return back to the days of the 50s and 60s is not about family. It's about control.
And I appreciate the point that she said these men are threatened when they see that a woman don't need them financially. And it's not about whether she's a good mother, a good wife. It's not about any of that. It's about control. You know, they like those women back in the 50s and the 60s, the 40s, 50s, and 60s. Fathers know best, leave it to Beaver, and all of that other crazy nonsense. Those women were miserable. They had no choice but to put up with the abuse, to put up with whether it's physical or mental or emotional abuse. They had no way out. So what if he had made another family in the same neighborhood? So what if she's been in and out of the clinic with some kind of STD? And I look at STD, sexually transmitted demons. Yeah, sexually transmitted demons. You know, she had to put up with so much abuse because she had no choice. And yes, these men are very threatened when they see a woman is independent and that she, you know, she doesn't have to put up with your nonsense because financially, honey, she could pick up and she's out. Those women back in our grandmother and our great-grandmother times, because I've listened to some older women. They have this wonderful woman on here. I forget her name. Wait, what is her name? She's awesome. And she tells you, honey, about the older generation. It was a very, very miserable time for women back then. And the only women who was happy with that arrangement were women who suffered from mental illness. These were women who back in the 40s, 50s, 60s, they didn't have support groups. They didn't have social media, or they didn't have knowledge of bipolar, schizophrenia, anxiety, borderline personality. They didn't know anything about narcissism. So they was just stuck in their naivety. And then when you also think about those men back in the 40s, 50s, 60s, and even the 70s, those husbands, they were able to provide for everything. But my thing is, I like to always see things the way the Bible tells us that we're supposed to do things, you know? Like the Bible says God created a woman as a man's helper, right? We're here to help a man, but you notice the Bible also says in 1 Timothy, I think it's chapter 5, verse 4, where it says, anyone who does not provide for his own is like a man who is an atheist. So you see how that works out fairly? If she's maintaining the house, he's providing, he's paying for it. You know, you pay, you provide, and I will help you by being the manager for your house. Sure, you could be the boss, go ahead and be the boss, but you got to pay the cost to be the boss. And I'm a firm believer, I do 50-50. That's just the kind of woman that God created me to be. Because I'm not going to, honey, you know I'm a paid advice coach, and I get the phone calls where these men are constantly lording it over these women's head, talking about, oh, I pay all the bills up in here. You'll do as you're told. No, your family and friends can't come over. No, lights out at this and that time. And she's like, but I'm not sleepy. I'm not ready to, but time to go to bed. Or he gets to call all of the shots, and the number one thing he throws in her face is because I pay all the bills. And then he gets her so used to and so accustomed to having everything paid, so it makes it hard for when he's abusing her, it makes it hard for her to leave because he got her so used to it. That's why when you hear a man saying, I'll pay for everything, I don't want a wife who works, no, I want a stay-at-home wife to raise my kids and all of this and that, red flag. That's a very abusive man. That's a controlling man, and that's a man who's trying to set you up. Please don't fall for that. Even if you have to pay 30%, let him pay 70 and you pay 30. Because if you're doing 70% of the work in the house, he could do 70% of paying for everything. And his 30% should be that he at least helps with the cooking. And he does his own laundry. Don't do for a man what he's capable of doing for himself, because that's going to ruin your sex life. That's going to kill the passion in your relationship, because nobody wants to sleep with their mother. And if you're doing things for him that his mother used to do, because let's be honest here, if a man was grown and he had his mother picking up behind him, doing his laundry, doing all of his cooking and cleaning up and all of this, everybody would say that's dysfunctional, something's wrong with that. But yet you have these wives who are turning into their mothers, and then you wonder why they lose passion for you in the bedroom. You're like my mom. So we have to take all of those things into consideration as well. Now let me read some of the comments here. They forgot our mothers and grandmothers told us not to be like them, to have our own and to love ourselves first. That's right. That's what healthy grandmothers and great grandmothers are telling this generation of women, or the younger generation. Don't be like me. I threw away my life. I had to put up with abuse. I had no way out. So keep these things in mind, ladies. Always have your own money. Always have your own health care. When it comes to children, I wouldn't recommend you keep bringing children into this world. We have more than enough children. Help the ones that are here. Children are very costly. If a man is not making at least $100K, he don't need to be having no children. He can't afford it, especially this day and age. Because new studies shows that a family of 4, it takes $200,000 for a family of 4 to live a decent life this day and age. This is 2024. This is not like back in the 40s and the 50s when houses were cheap and you could pay for, no. So this man's talking about some goddamn kids. He better have that goddamn money. And the Bible says things are going to get a lot worse before it gets better. Why would you want to bring kids into this? Love your unborn children enough not to bring them into this nonsense. Twinkle, twinkle, twinkle.